Hello everyone, welcome to this live stream. This live stream will be solving puzzles at the beginning just to warm up a little bit. And then we will be playing some rapid games. I'm looking forward to playing. Of course it's out of my control, it depends on my opponent's decisions, but I am intending to play the Smith-Morra gambit, could transpose into an Alapin. And with the black pieces responding 1d6 and 1c5, depending once again on my opponent's move. Against e4, I would be very tempted to respond c5, and against d4, I would be tempted to play d6. Hoping everyone's having a good day. Also hoping we don't have any technical issues here. The position of the live stream's thumbnail is essentially the Smith-Morra. There are different ways you can get the Smith-Morra. You can play it right away in this position, which is probably the best way of getting it. But I like playing knight f3 because it keeps my options open. I should d6. I have bishop b5, which is a very interesting move. Whoa, that was lag. You see the lag? Whenever the king doesn't go red right away, there's something going wrong. Of course, d4 is the main line, and after c takes, knight takes d4 is the main line as well. But c3 is the Smith-Morra. Not the best way. When black goes d6, it's not incredible. But okay. And of course, with the black pieces, we would be looking for positions like this. White can go for the anti-Sicilians options with knight c3. Or play very sharp positions in which I'm intending to play the dragon. Probably I should have written that down, but okay, I can only get specific to some extent. I'm literally just putting all the repertoire with white and with black in the title. So yeah, against d4, I'm looking for d6. Okay, which is a very flexible move. So let's come here. And let's click on that. There we go. Let's refresh. And we should be able to do this. Hello, Sidorite. Looking well today. Thank you. Not looking that scary. It happens. Not very often, but it happens. I'm not sure why the chat is not working. Your message should have shown up. Stay. That's super. Oh, there we go. Okay. I guess it was very early. Hope you're having a good day, Sidorite. So. Someone in the comments recommended me to include always the rating of the puzzle we're solving. In this case, I like the way the layout is working right now. It's very clean, very non-invasive. You know, there's some streamers. I mean, this is a personal opinion, but I wouldn't like to put my name. I like the way it just looks. It's just three things. It's not very cluttered. So what I will be doing, instead of including in like this, for example, I could use this this layout as well, but my camera is blocking a little bit of the position. So what I will do is I'm going to get into the habit of changing it to this layout, saying, hey guys, this is our rating. The puzzle we're currently solving is estimated to be around 2160. And this is the way it works. You see the message, yeah? I think it works now. Thanks. So we're playing with the black pieces. I repeat, we're solving a puzzle that is around 2100. We were solving tough ones, and I guess that, you know, depending on how we're doing, maybe we can sometimes experiment with harder puzzles. If you guys want a more of a challenge, you guys can follow the Instagram page, which are the puzzles I actually use to train myself. I want to become an international master. Of course, I'm solving puzzles. This is what I keep telling everyone. Chess is 99% tactics. So if you guys want more of a challenge, if you want puzzles that are more like 2,800 or 3,000 rated, you can check out the Instagram page. Okay. So once again, it's black to play. We have 4 minor pieces against 3 minor pieces, but on the other hand, we lost to rook. Now, white is extremely underdeveloped. Every single piece, except pawns and kings, of course, is still underdeveloped, except for the bishop on c7. However, the bishop on c7 is more of a weakness. I feel like it can be targeted, it can be attacked, rather than, you know, with this being called a developed piece. So, in short words, white is still extremely underdeveloped. We seem to have a little bit more going on, and not only that, but there are ideas of knight d4, knight b3. Okay. Candidate moves. So knight d4, threatening knight b3. I don't like this that much because after a takes b4, knight b3, king c3, knight takes a1. Sure, we did technically win the exchange back, but our knight is trapped. So I wouldn't call that an enormous win. If we were to... The bishop on c7 is trapped, kind of. It doesn't have many squares to go. The only square that it has as an escape square is bishop d6, but even that is running into rook d8, pinning. So my second candidate move is knight a6. Knight a6, this is threatening knight takes e7. So for example, if white makes a neutral developing move, like bishop d3, we simply take this, and now we would be winning on material. So from being worse in material, what does that mean? We're down material. We are down the exchange. We go and we're up in material because now we would have, I mean, we win 3 points, we win a bishop, and we would have 2 minor pieces against the rook, which is clearly better for, I almost destroyed my mouse here. It's clearly better for whoever has the 2 pieces. Hey, hello Viking. Make sure to not work too hard. You did incredibly well. Thank you, Viking. So knight a6 is my I'm very tempted to make this move. This is the part of the puzzle where also we get the temptation of just saying, look, I mean, I just found it. This is amazing. But you have to be disciplined. You have to force yourself into, or you have to force yourself to work hard for the opponent. So knight a6, the amount of times I've made a move like this and then it's wrong because I missed a resource, so I missed something white could have played that saved the day. The amount of times that happened to me, it's more than you would imagine. Too many times. So please make yourself, do yourself a favor, create the habit of working hard for your opponent. You don't want surprises. There's no prizes for winning quickly, only prizes for winning. Grandmasters don't care about winning in 2 moves or in 50 moves. As long as they're winning, they're happy. Okay. It sounded like a song at some point there. Prizes, surprises. Either way, knight a6, bishop d6, rook d8, c5, knight takes c5. That's working because we're taking everything with check. So knight a6, bishop a5, we take. There's no surprises there. Knight a6, bishop takes e5, knight takes e5. Bishop b6 doesn't work. Bishop d6, rook d8. We're not missing anything there. It's knight a6. A backwards knight move. I think the first part of this puzzle is just to realize that we have knight a6. Maybe this is creativity, you know. Maybe creativity is a big part of this puzzle because coming up with knight a6 is maybe not incredibly obvious. It's a backwards knight move. I think Ivanchuk said it once. Backwards knight moves are tough. But don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if it was Ivanchuk or it was someone else. So we're going to take this, and we're up material now, so we win. Next puzzle. Used to it. Thanks, Vivek. In this position, we're playing with white pieces. We have the bishop pair against the knight pair. Our bishops seem to be pretty active. Our king seems to be safer than our opponent's king. Our opponent's knight on g8 is pretty sad. So there are ideas of queen h8 pinning that knight, and I don't see an obvious way of defending. Clearly, we're better. This one's obvious. How do we continue though? So queen h8 is my first candidate move. Queen d1 is a check, so it has to be a candidate move. Bishop takes e5 was momentarily a candidate move to me, but after queen takes e5, black takes back with check. I don't think this is the solution. We're also giving up our very important dark squared bishop that is pinning. There's no reason to release the tension there. At least it doesn't seem like it at a first glance. You need a very good reason to release the tension in this type of positions. Maybe if your king, my king was on a1, and then, you know, if I'm taking on e5 and I have a rook and I'm pinning something like this, maybe then that would be the case. But I don't think in this position. So queen h8, queen d1. Queen d1, by the way, doesn't convince me. I think black can probably just drop back, king c8. We do have queen d5 in that position, because black can't defend like that. And if black can't defend, then who's protecting the e5 knight? It's attacked twice, right? The queen d1, all of a sudden, I mean, there is king e7 though. And after queen d5, king f6. As weird as that looks, doesn't seem to be winning. So queen h8 seems like the way. I don't think there is anything. Everything comes with check as well. So we're going to take with check. Okay, we should have calculated this. This is very poor by me. I mean, it's still, we can still feel that we're winning, but we have to be predicting these. You have to, when you're solving puzzles, it's a bad sign that you make a move and then you're met with something you didn't expect. That's not what should happen in a real game. In a real chess game, you should be ready for most of your opponent's resources, at least the most important ones. Here, you know, I just made this move and I'm like, oh, I'm winning. This is the end of the puzzle, but okay. I should have found g5. So I take on g8, king takes d7. My suspicion is that bishop takes e5 is winning. So queen takes e5, king f2 looks scary for a second because there's queen c5 check. There's no other check other than that. And if there's no more checks, for example, something like g4, I just take on f7 and I start gobbling up on the pawns. And eventually I should be able to win. But yeah, bishop takes e5, queen takes e5 has to be calculated. What else has to be calculated? Queen takes f7, knight takes f7, bishop takes e7. No, that doesn't seem right. I could technically just take as well. Bishop takes g5, fearless chess. Because there's no good discovery. I rejected this move initially because it, you know, it allows black to move the knight anywhere and give me a discovered check. Actually, what am I saying? I know, knight g4, there's bishop f4. Only move, because king h3, of course, runs into queen h2. So bishop takes g5, knight g4, bishop f4 saves the day, and we're winning. Knight g6, then we can move the king, because there's no longer any mates. And yeah, knight d3, king h... Ooh, king h3, I have to be careful with knight f2 and queen h2. So bishop takes g5, knight d3. Ooh, maybe this is working actually for black. So it's good that we saw this knight d3 idea. Because all of a sudden we're losing. King h3, knight f2, king h4, queen h2 mate. So bishop takes g5, knight d3, king h4, queen h2 is mate directly as well. So bishop takes g5 doesn't work. Good to know. I guess bishop takes e5, queen takes e5. We're going back to this. I'm gonna go king f2, potentially. What's wrong with queen takes g7? Queen takes g7, g takes f4. Hello, Adam. I'm planning of making arenas. I'm probably going to play Rapid today, sorry. Chess ratings. How old were you when you started playing chess? I think 10, 11. It's been like a little bit more than a decade. 12 years, 13 years. How many hours a day did you practice? At some point, I think the point where I improved the most was I was going from Monday to Thursday to chess school for 4 hours. And because I was young and yeah, I could afford doing that after school, in high school. But I started going since I was in primary school. So it was kind of secondary school, so 3 years during secondary school, and then 1 more year during high school. So a good 4 years of good quality, 4 hours from Monday to Thursday. And that's with an IM coach, an international master was coaching me, and I learned tons of him. And not only, actual chess, but actual, lessons of life, as spiritual as that sounds. Sorry, Adam, but I mean, we can play in the same tournament, and then you have a chance. Millie King, thank you for subscribing. I don't know why I can't hear these things. What is going on? I don't know. How do you join tournaments? I'll explain it once I join the tournament, don't worry. We're almost done with this puzzle. So yeah. Bishop 65 doesn't work. Any bishop move probably doesn't work. So for example, bishop d2 is the same idea. Knight d3, king h3, and even worse because there's a g4, sorry, but also knight f2, mate. So everything leads to, or kind of tells us that bishop 65 is the only move, queen 65 check, and then once again by method of elimination, king h3 doesn't seem to work because of g4, so king f2 is the only move. Also a very good move because probably, yeah, it forces black to make the only move with check, which is queen c5, at least the only move that is worth calculating, queen e3, sacrificing the queen in a nonsensical way. So queen c5, we go king f1, once again forcing black to find the only check, but after queen c4, there's queen b5, bishop e2 is working even better. Queen c4, bishop e2, queen f4, I feel like this is not the way. So queen c4, we have to think again. King e1, potentially. And then queen e6, then bishop e2. And then we get rid of checks. And once you get rid of the checks, that's an incredibly good sign. So it should be bishop 65, king f2, and that's the answer. I think we can go a little bit further. Queen c5. Yeah, the best move is king. Yeah, king f1 is also working. King f1, queen c4, we go king e1, and after queen e6, there's bishop e2. And now we're winning. Okay, well, going back to what Adam was asking, let's get this out of the way. So what I'm planning to do is I'm gonna change the layout. So you go into Lichess like this. It should look something like this. And I'm gonna click on Arena Tournaments. And here, I'm gonna join the hourly rapid arena. There's an hourly tournament for every time control in chess. There's an hourly bullet arena. There's thematic opening arenas with certain time controls. So there's a blitz with 3+0, 3 minutes per player plus 0 seconds each move, 5 minutes plus 0 seconds each move. So all of these are without increment. Actually, now that I notice, all of these tournaments are without increment, I guess to measure the time they take more accurately. Okay. Hello, Roger. Chess ratings, play simul. Yeah. You know, I'm waiting for the day where we're gonna be tons of us, and then we all join the team. I think I still have that team, Respectful Dave team. I still have this team. Yeah, so we used to do simuls here. So if you guys want to join that, once I see it, see people asking for it here, I guess. I don't know. We'll be analyzing games and playing simuls. But whenever I do a public simul, unfortunately it runs into some cheaters. More than in an arena tournaments. And that's, of course, no one's fault. other than the cheater's fault. So that's the explanation behind that. Okay, so let's join this rapid arena and let's see what's going on. So we're playing against Edamac 47. We're gonna open up with 1 e4. Wow, this is an unusual move, knight c6. Normally black goes e5, d5, e6, c6, knight c6. We can actually transpose into very well-known lines with knight f3. d4, d5 is, I think, the Chigoran defense, but I may be wrong about that. So now we transpose into more well-known territory. After knight f3, so black plays e5. And here I'm gonna play the Scotch with d4. I'm gonna occupy the center directly. You're watching How Do I Join? Go to arena tournaments up here and hourly rapid. So I'm gonna take on d4. Now black takes twice on d4. This is a well-known mistake. Normally you shouldn't release the tension. Black goes queen f6. I think black is mixing up some theory. There's some lines after bishop c5, bishop e3, where queen f6 is indeed what you want to do as black. But here I'm not sure. At least I don't recall this. So queen f6. Here we have several options. We have pawn to e5. I don't want to take. It just seems to help black develop. In the same way that I was criticizing black's taking on d4 move, I want to not release the tension. If you're going to release the tension, you need a very good reason. So e5 is a candidate move. I also have queen e3, potentially, queen d2, queen d3, queen d1. So I have all of these squares to go to avoid the queen trade. Ultimately, the queen on f6 is not well placed. It's subject to be attacked with moves like knight c3, knight d5. It's on the way of the ideal developing square of the knight on g8. It's not a good square for the queen, which is actually why I'm getting a little bit discouraged from playing e4, e5, because queen b6, the queen gets to move to a better square. But on the other hand, my pawn is still preventing black from playing knight f6. Okay, I'm gonna play e5. But it also creates this point of contact with d6. And then one of the reasons why white is better is because white has a pawn in the center. If I push that pawn, I risk that pawn to, no longer exist and get traded for a not very active pawn, like the one on the d file. That's why e5 is a little bit, I'm not sure. So all of those things considered, I think I'm gonna go queen e3. The big dilemma. Do you know FM Hamidi? No, sorry. "14 years old now. Been playing chess for a year. How can I improve? Because there is no title master in our city." I think... What was your rating? Play tons of games online and analyze them. Create a database. Create a study in Lichess. Go to Learn Study. Create a Lichess study for yourself. Privatize it so people don't know what your preparation and your repertoire is. And depending on your level, work certain amount in openings and certain amount or certain percentage in tactics. If your rating is lower than 1,800, work most of your time in tactics, all of your time in tactics. And if your rating is like, I don't know, 2000, around 2000, then still work tons in tactics, but pay attention to your openings, like 30%. That's my not so humble advice. Bishop b6, bishop b7. So my opponent is developing their pieces, but it's just, you know, a very unusual way. But it seems to work. It seems to work. Now, if my opponent's going to castle queenside, I'm tempted to play a4, a5. It's not very flexible of me, because a4, if black just plays something like bishop c5, which, by the way, I think is one of the reasons why black plays b6, then I'm kind of like, I'm left with this loss of tempo. a4 is kind of nonsense if black is not going to castle queenside. If black does castle queenside, then a4 is not nonsense anymore. But we don't know. Black can continue to play it, be flexible. So bishop c4 comes to my mind. It's a very active looking move. After bishop c5, don't worry, I don't have to play something like, I don't know, queen d3, blundering queen f2. I can play queen g3. And part of the idea here is I'm targeting c7. Whoa. And I'm also preparing bishop g5, which was my secret trick. So bishop g5, now I'm attacking this. Oh, I blundered this. What am I doing? Never mind. This is out of control now. I should have paid attention more to my opponent's resources. So I'm going to take on f2. Beggars can't be choosers. And now I'm going to have to focus here. Let's see. This is far from ideal. So we can take back on f7. It's not the end of the world. But it's, as I said, it's not ideal. Can go h4. Can go a4. Huh. Knight f6 is probably what my opponent wants. Is this a crazy move? I have to be careful here. a4, a5 comes to my mind. It looks very tempting. But I can't leave my king in the middle. That's, you know, that's not right. So I'm going to castle short side. I have to keep an eye on the time. Have you tried Leech's tools yet? Please remind me after this, because I haven't even researched about it. I remember you told me it was this very... It was messy or something like that. Okay, knight f6, as expected. Yeah, our opponent is playing pretty well here. Let's defend the pawn. Once again, beggars can't be choosers. We're already down a pawn. We're gonna resist as much as we can. I think queen e5 is probably a very strong move here. I'm not sure, actually. Sacrifice the rook. Good luck in the tournament. Thank you, Ertuk. d5. Wow. d5. Okay. Well, takes. Okay, that one I don't understand that much. Because I'm taking on f7 at some point. Okay, let's take here. Let's take here. Now I can take on f7. Now we're back in the game. I think. Yeah, let's take here. Rook d2, I have queen. Rook d2 threatening mate on g2. I can play queen f3, defending and threatening my own stuff. Yeah, it seems a little bit unclear. I'm threatening rook e7, I guess. Let's go queen f3. Okay, king b8, that makes sense. Now, rook e2 is a candidate move. h4 takes, that's not working. Rook e2. I want to trade this rook because that rook is super active. But I can also just go king h1, but rook takes c2 is something to worry about as well. What about rook f2? Rook f2, queen c5. Queen e3. Rook takes c2. Queen takes e5, rook takes e5. Rook takes e2 here is very strong. Okay, what about rook e2? Queen c5. Queen f2, rook takes e2 blunders. So rook e2, queen c5. Guess I could go... I know that's blundering mate. What a genius. Wow. So rook e2, queen c5. Rook f2, queen c5 either way. What if I go queen f5? That doesn't work. I have to make a move. I think I've got something. No, I don't. Yeah, that's also strong. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, is it? Rook takes d2? I'm super confused in this game. King h1, king f1, h3. I think I can go h3. Super confused. d3. I have to speed up. Queen e3, actually. There we go. Maybe this is my escape. My lucky escape. Wait, rook takes d2. Let's go rook takes d2 and queen e4. Stopping queen d4. Queen e3, queen takes e2, of course. So I'm defending this, and I'm defending against queen d4. I don't have much time here. So things are gonna get real. Rook e3, king h2. Let's see if we can squeeze water out of a stone. We're gonna trade the queens. Maybe I should have kept. I'm gonna play rook c3, kind of the only decent way of defending. a3, b4, potentially. Okay, king h2, king g3. Okay, a4, preventing b5 ideas. Okay, king h4 doesn't work, king f3, rook b3. So takes. Because I want my rook active. Okay, now we get c3. Is that an improvement? I'm not sure, actually. Oh, it's actually tricky. Rook d5 forces stuff. I'm not sure who's winning in the resulting position. I guess king f4. Okay. Let's try to defend this way. Or go rook e6, rook e7. Actually, rook e7 directly. And then now it's just a pawn race. Let's see. Yeah. Check first. Do I come here? Then h6? Are we winning this? That's amazing. We're winning because there's queen a8 at the end. That's insane. Queen b5. Queen a4. Queen b4. Takes. There we go. Wow. Terribly managed, but we were under pressure. I blunder bishop takes f2. Whew. Thank you, thank you. I don't know Ferdowsi. Ferdowsi. Who's Ferdowsi? The Persian poet? Okay, we're going to play the Sicilian. White goes for the Alapin Sicilian with c3, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to play d5. One of the reasons why you wouldn't go d5 normally in these, like for example the Scandinavian, is because after takes, there's knight c3. But of course, now that there's opponent c3, things have changed. So I go d5, now that there's not a natural way of exploiting and gaining tempos on the queen. I'm gonna go knight c6, natural move, because white ultimately wants to go d4, so I'm putting my pieces in a way that it discourages d4. Doesn't prevent it, because white, yeah, can still go for this. But I was actually checking a game recently on this line, so I'll go bishop g4, pinning, discouraging white from, or putting some pressure on d4 indirectly. So for example, takes would be winning the pawn. So bishop e2 is played, very natural move. I'm gonna develop my pieces now. I have to just watch out for c4 ideas. So I think actually e6 is probably better first, because if knight f6, c4, queen d6, d5 becomes something. So e6 first, just to watch out for c4. Always being aware of your opponent's resources. White goes bishop e3. I think this is the main line. Sorry. I'm gonna go knight f6. Or should I take? At some point, black is actually the one forced to take and release the tension. Of course, black would prefer not to do that. But as I phrased it, at some point it doesn't become a choice. I'm still gonna go knight f6 for now. c4 is still not something to worry about, I think, because of queen d6, and even though it looks like white can now take on c5, now there's a bishop on e3, I can take on d1, play some black knight e4, and I have enough compensation. I'm getting back the pawn eventually. So I think it only becomes a threat after white castles. And now I can take. And I have to take. I'm expecting c takes d. And I'm simply going to play bishop e7. Okay, wow. So c takes d4, bishop e7, knight c3, queen d6, I believe is the main line. But knight takes d4. And now I'm out of my book, officially. I don't know what's going on. I was playing kind of a little bit by memory and by logic before, but now I have to start working hard. Harder. I was already working hard before. Bishop takes e2. Knight takes e2, queen takes d1. That can't be bad for black. Black has equalized easily in that position. Knight takes d4 is, I guess, a counter move, but c takes, I don't know. It seems, why would I release the tension? I don't see a clear reason. h5 came to my mind for a couple of seconds. But once again, I don't see the point. I think I can play bishop takes e2. I have to address this attack, by the way. Technically, white is threatening bishop takes e4, which is a very primitive threat. What does that mean? It's a very clear, simple threat, which is, you know, you move the knight. Obviously, these two pieces are targeting the g4 bishop, which is only defended once. So I prefer to address that situation by taking on e2. In chess, technically, you think of this as, well, okay, after white is forced to take, it's my turn again. So it's quick. I talk a lot about, by the way, knight takes e2 is probably not the best. Queen takes e2 seemed a little bit better. I talk a lot about speed in chess, so you have to create threats quickly. You know, it's a game of whose ideas arrive first, whose ideas are quicker. queen takes d5. So I could have released the tension, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, but I think there was no good reason for that. For example, after queen takes d1, rook takes d1, I lose the additional alternative of castling queenside, so I decided to castle queenside now. I'm obviously threatening queen takes d1 now, because the rook is supporting that. And I force my opponent to release the tension, and take a look at this. So now I get to centralize my knight, create a threat. Much better than, you know, releasing the tension first. That's, yeah, I can go on forever with this kind of lecturing of don't release the tension too early. But it is true, especially with beginners. The more I know, the less I know. Is that, that's why you mentioned the poet. Yeah. Sorry, I was too slow for that. So what is his name? Ferdowsi. So he said that, quotes. Did he say that? I don't know. I'm gonna get flagged as cheating because I'm looking things online. So we're creating the threat of knight takes e3. Why is this a threat? We're not only trading a knight for a bishop in a semi-open position, no, actually a very open position. Sorry, not semi-open. Semi-open would be a little bit more closed. This is a very open position. Whoa. We're damaging the structure as well. Talking about that, now we can super damage the structure. So we can take on e3. We can take on a3. White has all of a sudden, how many pawn islands? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pawn islands, which is the worst you can get, the most amount of pawn islands you can get in chess, I think. Is that true? 1, 2, 3, yeah. Which is not good news for white. So I'm gonna do that just to be very, I guess, very instructive. So I'm gonna take on e3. It's forced for white to take back. Then I'm gonna take on a3. It's forced for white to take back. And then I'm gonna play something like f6, e5, because f6 is attacked by the rook. So f6. I don't know, knight d4, e5. White can have, you know, white can do a little bit of that as well. Sure. It's a price, sorry, I'm willing to pay. But yeah. Actually, I can go to rook d2 as well. Knight d4, can take, but that fixes the structure a little bit for him or her. And I don't want to do that. Actually, against knight d4, maybe I can go rook d6. I mean, e5 is also very attractive. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm in a dilemma. So rook d6, knight b5, rook d5. Rook d6 threatens e5 to some extent. I mean, if we come e5, knight takes e6, b takes c6, that's also a dream. I know this is working for a fact, so I'm gonna go for it. So the reason why I wanted to play rook d6 is because I wanted to take back with the rook. Now that I've taken with the pawn, of course, this is not ideal. But on the other hand, I mean, yeah, this is also a mistake. On the other hand, after something like rook fd1, I would have played something like king c7. I do have the idea of rook d5. I can trade a pair of rooks, and the structure is so bad. White's structure is so bad, so much worse than mine, that I think it should have been decisive. But now rook f2 doesn't help white, unfortunately. Invade with rook d3. I'm going to double up on the d file, meaning that white's rooks are going to be left doing nothing. And now I can already think materialistically here. I think I'm going to take it. White could occupy the d file now, but I'm gonna play rook d8. I'm gonna play rook d8, and this should be game over soon. I can double. I can double in the third file, third rank. Sorry, because there are 2 pawns in the third rank, and I can win even more material. So I'm gonna take on c3. The only thing you have to watch out for in these type of positions when you're super winning is not to relax too much. Okay, now I get to trade one of the rooks. I think rook b2 was better to even like sacrifice one more pawn, but at least you still have 2 rooks. It's a little bit more complicated. Let's defend the pawn on c6. You want to keep more pieces over the board when you're losing. Actually, the principle says you should exchange pieces when you're winning, but you can apply that logic and reverse it, invert it, and it would apply. I mean, for black, sorry, for white. They want to avoid exchanges. I'm gonna give a check, trying to entice white to play king g4 so I can go g6 and create a mating net, which only works if white goes h4, by the way. Oh, never mind. h4, h5 would have been mate. So here I can just push the king back. So the king was looking, oh, okay, g4. I missed that. But I think it also works out for us, because now we're threatening g5 and rook takes h3, now that the g4 square is not available for white. I think white was trying stalemate tricks, which is actually very rightfully, they rightfully look for stalemate tricks, but white still has one legal move. But that would have been amazing. I wasn't watching. I should have been more careful. I wasn't even aware of rook takes c6 being that close. It was pretty close. I mean, the only reason why this is not a stalemate is again because of g5. I mean, the pawn cannot move. This pawn cannot move. This king cannot move. It was closer than it seemed. So I should have been careful. For example, f5 would be a stalemate here. Should we stalemate white just as a price? No, of course not. Actually, let's try to be super hyper everything. King d6 takes, king e6, f7. Yeah, okay, no. King d6 takes, h6, f7. Okay. Let's just take then. I was trying to get some forced mate. Here we're gonna take. And thankfully, we have enough time. A practical, I don't know, practical thing to do in these positions is to leave an extra pawn just to avoid any disaster. And we're gonna be instructive here. We're gonna try to checkmate with... How do I do this? We're gonna try to checkmate with the rook. So king h6 is the only move, and then I go e4. I can also go rook g4 as a waiting move, but okay. Any waiting move seems to work as long as we're preventing king g5. After king h7, there's rook h3. Thank you for the game. I think we were following the main line for a long time. I think c takes d4 here is probably better. And probably queen takes e2 here is better. Maybe knight d2 is better here. But I'm not sure. I think it's already better for black. And knight a3 can't be right. Maybe bishop d2 was resisting a little bit more. Yeah, we never get to top 20, top 10 because I guess we're too slow. Or maybe we're too bad, too weak, too slow. Maybe we can catch London plant. London plant. Okay. Nah, we're not berserking. I was about to, before I even read your comment. But let's stick to the instructive chess. So let's play another Sicilian. So c5. Let's play knight c6. Should we play d6? Let's play knight c6. So white has several options. Here's the Rossolimo, the Alapin. Oh, we predicted the Rossolimo. So the Rossolimo, I had a game recently in the Rossolimo. It's very serious. It seeks to damage my pawn structure giving up the bishop pair. And then the principle says that whenever you do give up the bishop pair early in the game, because your pawns are still not, they're still flexible, except the e4 pawn in this case, you can put them, instead of going for d4, which is a more maybe natural move, you go for d3. So takes, white goes out of their way to put pawns in the same color as their bishop, or well, the bishop they don't have, which is the light squares. Why? Because now my light square bishop wouldn't be bad. And it would close the position as well. It would play in a, structurally speaking, it would lead to closed positions. And if you have the pair of knights against the pair of bishops, what type of position do you benefit more from? Closed positions or open positions? Well, obviously, if you have the pair of knights, closed. So now, e5 here, other than occupying the center, also gets ready to finally protect the knight on c6 with another minor piece, or with another piece, which is not a pawn. Meaning that after knight g7, I also have knight d4, but knight g7, for example, no longer I have to take with a pawn. I can take with a knight, which is a pretty big improvement. It's a pretty big deal. I can also go knight d4. I'm not sure. Yeah, knight c3. I'm not sure what's going on here. Knight d4, bishop f1, or bishop c4. Yeah, I think knight d4 is just attacking a bishop. It is centralizing the knight, which can't be that bad. But I don't know, I think maybe even white wants to go bishop f1 regardless. So maybe instead of wasting my tempo with knight d4, I prefer to go a6, b5, for instance. I don't know, it seems more flexible to go knight g7. It can't be a bad move either. I wasn't going to put my knight on f6. I wasn't going to put it on h6. It's pretty clear that my knight belongs on e7, keeping an eye on d5, which is my weak square. It's an outpost, actually. I've moved my pawns forward like this, which means that no longer any pawn can defend the d5 square, which is not amazing news. It's not good. Okay, now d3 is slightly suspicious because it does cut off this bishop from their escape squares, meaning that after a6, bishop c4, b5, bishop d3, I could get the bishop pair myself in a better position, because now, yeah, I was getting the bishop pair after bishop takes e6 and pawn takes, but I don't have to damage my structure now. So a6, bishop c4. I could also go knight a5, but I prefer to occupy more space and then go something like knight a5 or knight d4. But knight d4, knight takes d4, and I'm no longer winning the bishop pair. KT, thanks for subscribing, KT. So a6, bishop c4. b5, bishop b3. I could also castle short side. Something has gone wrong for white here. Sure about that. Okay, so I could go knight d4 directly. Why? Well, there's bishop c4 still. My idea was that if knight takes, c takes, knight d5 is no longer as good as when the bishop is protecting the d5 square. So I can take, and white is forced to take with a pawn, and that's a big deal. Not only because it's weakening the d5 square, but because this bishop automatically becomes worse now that the diagonal, is closed. Their own pawn is on the way. However, I'm so tempted to go a6. Bishop c4, bishop a4, I go b5, bishop b3. But that bishop seems to be okay doing okay there. Unless I go knight a5, but knight a5. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. I can't resist the idea of winning the bishop pair. So bishop takes e6, I'm gonna go knight takes c6. This is part of the reason why I put my knight on e7. I developed it there. Thank you, Collins, for subscribing. Thanks everyone who's watching, by the way. Heh. What happens if they take with knight? They take with knight. After knight d4, knight takes d4. If they take with knight, I take with the pawn, the c file, and I attack the knight. They have to go knight d5 probably. If they have to go back, this is more of a passive move. Okay, bishop g5, finishing development. White finally finishes development with all their minor pieces, which is something I haven't done because my bishop on c8 is still there. I haven't even castled yet, but I've been busy trying to neutralize white's ideas of occupying the center, especially d4. And I've also been very optimal about trying to get the bishop pair when I had the chance. For example, if I had waited one more move and castled here, maybe there's a3 or a4, and bishop c4, bishop a2 is always in the air. So white will always have an escape for the light square bishop. That's why I'm prolonging the castling, which may seem a little bit difficult to understand. Now, bishop g5, I guess what white is trying to provoke is for black to go f6, in which case my bishop wouldn't be that good. So that's the explanation, kind of in a very reductionist way. Do I have to go f6? I mean, it gains in tempo. One side of the coin, or one school of thought, is that it gains a tempo. It's playing in this style of, making moves, creating threats, not wasting time. But on the other hand, I could prevent the idea of playing f6 as a whole and play queen c7. Which one's better? I'm not sure. I'm gonna go for, I really prioritize tempos in chess. So I'm gonna go for f6. I'm a little bit scared of knight d5 and c4. I feel like if I allow white to gain that, they're gonna be able to, just have that. Oh, yeah, have that there. But there's some problems here. White can still go knight d5, knight takes d5, e6 d5. And all of a sudden I'm struggling tactically because there's this knight takes e5 idea. And d4 idea because I haven't castled yet. So for example, knight e7, if we can visualize this, knight d5, knight takes d5, e takes d5. If I go castle short side here, knight takes e5. Ah, but there's g5. And the same applies to rook takes e5. Okay, so let's go knight e7. I am still underdeveloped. My bishop is still here. I haven't castled yet. Because I'm doing strategical stuff. So for example, what have we gained? We've successfully prevented white from playing d3 to d4, occupying the center. We've gained the bishop pair. In a way, I guess this bishop is a little bit out of play, which wasn't part of our plan. It just happened along the way. So it just happened after bishop g5. And now we're preventing white from playing knight d5. That's why we're doing all of these circles, all this juggling. Now, knight a4 attacks c5. Is that a real threat? So if we castle, knight takes c5, queen b6, knight b3, that seems like a pawn, or knight a4 even. Right, we could also just sacrifice it and go d5. But it doesn't convince me fully. I could go b6, protecting the pawn. I can go queen c7, protecting the pawn that way. Which one is better? I could go d6, protecting the pawn this way. Actually, I think, but I want to potentially play. Well, d6, c4. If I want to go for d5, now is the chance. But I have to protect this. Okay, I'm gonna go d6. I'm gonna accept that c4 is gonna come, and it's fine. c3 is not possible because of b5, losing the knight. So c4 I'm expecting. I think that was the idea of white, to play c4, knight c3, knight d5. Yeah. So now what do we do? I think we're gonna finally castle. Could also go g5, h5 now that I think about it. Wait a second. Can we go h5 here? This would be amazing. g5, bishop g3, h5, h3, g4, and it's probably better for us. Actually, I'm not sure. h4, bishop h2, g4 is potentially better. Oh, this is too interesting. h5 here. Okay, g5, this. There's also knight takes g5 takes and queen h5, but I don't think that works. So g5, bishop g3. h5, h4. Space Eagle, thanks for subscribing. Space Eagle. That's a cool username. G5, bishop G3, H5. Space Eagle. Yeah, this is why I'm losing on time, because then I'm getting distracted. G5, bishop G3, H5, H4. Yeah, I don't think that works. After H4, it doesn't seem clear. I'm just going to castle. I'm expecting knight C3. And I've seen ideas with B5 here, sacrificing the pawn. This is an impulsive move by me because I'm running out of time. But I do think that D3 is a major weakness, and I'm also got rid of White's grip on D5. I remember analyzing a game, similar game like this, where B5 was an idea, and there's enough compensation for the pawn, because the B file also opens, so Queen B6 ideas are also in the air. But okay, I'm running out of time. Do we play bishop E6? Bishop A6. I'm gonna play king H8. I think this is a little bit weak. Queen B3, I'm a little bit worried. And I guess at some point D5. White is probably going to protect the knight on B5 with A4. But I think that's where my pieces belong. Bishop E6, Queen B6. Yeah, Rook B8 or Rook D8. It's a long-term sacrifice, sorry, with long-term compensation. But I have to really speed up. Okay, H3. I'm not worried that much about that move. Let's play Bishop E6. This is a threat, technically. Maybe I could have played Bishop E6 without King H8, because King H8, the whole point is to not... So I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure where to put my bishop. King H8. I wanted to put my bishop on A6, but if I knew that I was going to play Bishop E6 either way, I would have done it immediately without that move. Okay, let's play D5. I have to be a little bit careful. So for example, takes, I wanted to take with the knight, but I have to calculate rook takes E5. Because this is pinned. So I think I'm gonna take with the bishop, which wasn't my original idea. But you know, it's fine. Queen B6. So now I'm expecting A4, and we're also getting finally out of that pin, which means that after takes we can also just take with the knight. By the way, I couldn't have taken in the previous line. I couldn't have taken with the queen either because knight C7 is in the air. Okay, so I wish I could have had C4 here, which doesn't seem to work, or does it? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I'm gonna go D4. Occupy space. This bishop is doing nothing. That I absolutely forgot about. I'm gonna go Queen B4, Queen B5, targeting D3. I absolutely forgot about that. This is not going my way here, guys. This is going down, actually. Knight D7 is an idea. I think I have G5. Good lord. Okay. Yeah, I'm losing on time here. Good lord. Ah! That move didn't make sense. Yeah, this is not salvable. Rook B7 is a very strong move here, I think. Yeah. Yeah. That's very poor by me. I apologize. That's very poor. It was such a nice game so far, but I got too excited here. So F6 was right. Bishop H4. Wow, we blundered knight takes e5. There's no good way of protecting here, because if we go bishop f8, there's knight f6 ideas, and there's also f4. Good lord. Ay, 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 ay. But knight a4, now we have an advantage again. But it turns out that we had g5 all of these. So this was right, but I didn't see anything in stage 4. It turns out that d6 and, you know, we keep the tension. But I was a little bit scared of keeping the tension this way. Ay, ay, ay. Can I play against you against... I'm gonna continue playing in the rapid arena. Maybe I should make this statement now. Let me just finish analyzing this game. Can't believe this. I thought this was good for me, but it turns out this is fine. This is equal. I thought it was better for black. I thought taking on c6 and me being able to take with the knight was good, but actually the best move here is to take with the pawn. To support d5, I guess. Which is amazing. So I took with the knight, and slightly better for white if white goes knight d5, I guess, because d5 is weak. But now it's better for black. For a moment it was better for white again because of this knight takes e5 trick. But knight a4, I protect. And now this is just better for me. And I should have gone g5, but... yeah, this is difficult to evaluate. What's my idea? G takes h4, knight g6. And here b5 is a little bit premature. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not the best. We could have just played bishop e6 like a normal human being and queen d7. But here I do silly things. g5, g4 was an idea here, but I was so focused on the queen side. d5 is a mistake. g5, g4 is still in the air. Here this is equal. Then I blunder a rook. Knight a4 is a super strong move. I should have seen this. And yeah. Ay, ay, ay. Congratulations to Mshushishi. Mshushishi. I should stop trying to pronounce these usernames. Ay, 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 ay. FM, by the way. You know. Not my proudest moment. Can I play with you again? I don't know. Get likes up to 15. Viking, you're an amazing mod. Maybe D takes c6 instead of knight takes c6. I think B takes c6 was the best one. Hello. D takes c6 is typical of those Rosolimo lines with black as well. I'm quite sure it was playable as well. But B takes c6 followed by d6. I think the engine wanted a pawn on d6. That's why it wasn't taking with the d pawn. We still have 47 minutes. Can we make it to the top? I mean, we lost the streak. We didn't even get the streak in the first place. Your feeder rating is 1,700. So what I was going to say is, you guys can join the Respectful Dave team. And whenever I see enough players interested in a tournament, then we can make an arena. A good hour blitz arena or something like that. And then everyone has the chance of playing against each other. I'm gonna berserk now. I'm gonna speed up. I need to speed up. I'm gonna play knight f3. I'm planning to play the Scotch again with d4. I'm gonna take back, knight takes d4, occupying the center. So bishop c5 is the main line. One of the main lines, knight f6 is the other big move. Here there's a very interesting move with knight b5, but I prefer c3, very solid. Here knight g7 is one of the typical ways of playing as black. Black just has to watch out for some positions where, for example, knight g7, knight d2 causes short side, knight takes c6, bishop takes c3, knight takes c7 comes with check. And I win material. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, I wanted my knight on e7. Yeah. That's why taking with the... That's why the engine likes taking with the b pawn. Okay, knight d2, knight 64, bishop 64. I'm losing a pawn. So I can go knight c2 here. I think that's playable. What was the way? Was bishop e2 the way? Here? Bishop e2 makes sense. Bishop c4 also makes sense. I'm gonna play bishop c4. The reason why I flip the board here is because sometimes you learn theory with certain color. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. So knight takes c6 forces black to take with the queen, and that's not supposed to be ideal. But maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. So I'm gonna castle short side, I guess. Knight takes c6, queen takes c6. We have no way of exploiting that. So we're gonna castle short side. Hello, Fallow. How have you been? Okay, pawn to d6. I think now this is maybe knight takes c6, running into knight takes c6. Sorry about that. I can't resist anymore. I'm gonna take on c6. I'm gonna slightly damage my opponent's structure for the sake of damaging my opponent's structure. We're playing in the hourly rapid arena. Follow. We just came from a heartbreaking loss. I managed my time very poorly. It was a good game. It was going well, but it, you know, looking at it from an analytical perspective, it turned out to be, you know, we're playing like a patzer. How to get a title? Play chess for 10 years. Do you mean how to like ask for the title? Like certify it? You have to send an email to your chess federation. So bishop e6. I can go knight d2. But I can also go bishop d3. Which I'm liking a little bit more. Keeping pieces over the board, going queen f3. Playing very in a very provocative style. I don't think I'm slightly better. Let's go queen f3. So the idea is knight d4, knight d2, sorry. So I've also a queen e3 against bishop g4. Bishop g4 takes, rook takes is not clear. Because my knight is still underdeveloped. If my knight was already on f3, maybe. Okay, queen e7. Just getting out of the way makes sense. Goes knight e3, knight c2, but that seems a little bit slow. So I'm gonna go knight d2. Oh, but then my... Ooh, knight d2, queen d7. And I'm losing. That was very tricky. So I'm gonna have to go knight a3. Which is fine, I guess. We dodged the bullet. Knight d2 would have blundered to queen d7, and then there's no obvious way. There is no way to protect. So we're here playing the edge, actually. We're just struggling a little bit, but I think once we see that, I think we're doing well. So now we're gonna follow it up with, I don't know, rook fe1, rook fd1, rook ad1. I do have to make sure that I'm not blundering a2 for no reason. So for example, rook ad1, bishop takes a2. I mean, I could sacrifice it for the sake of playing quick. Okay, that e5 targeting this knight. Bishop d5, bishop e4. I like e5 here. Technically, the threat here is bishop takes h7, king takes h7, and queen takes c6. Maybe just queen takes c6 and rook takes d3, queen takes a6. Regardless of that, I think bishop d5, I was thinking of bishop e4, but there's also queen h3 threatening a very deadly mate on h7. I mean, which mate is not deadly? But I prefer bishop e4. Because if I play queen h3 after something like h6 or g6, probably h6 better. I don't get the chance of playing bishop e4, and the bishop on d5 is better than the bishop on d3 then. So I'm going to take on e4, I'm still creating the threat of queen takes c6. And you know, I'm going to play knight e3. I'm going to play knight e3, followed by f5. So queen d7 I'm expecting. There's also rook d1. Takes, king f2. Okay, let's play knight e... Oh, there's f5 as well. That doesn't work, queen d5. So knight e3 or rook d1? Rook d1. I'm going to play knight e3. There's a very interesting thing that could happen here. Black could go f6. And even if it was black to play again, they could take on e5. And I would go f5. And I would sacrifice that pawn and claim that it benefits me having a pawn on e5. One, because it blocks... I have a very good blockade of that pawn. It's an isolated pawn. Two, I gain a tempo on the queen. So for example, going f5 here doesn't work because of queen takes e5. So now the black has a pawn on e5. Of course, that's not possible. We're not going to get that. That very often happens. But that was a very interesting move. Okay. History repeats itself. We have to play quickly here. We have less than a minute. Can we do it? Let me focus here, guys. Okay, we blundered that. Let's go f5. We don't care about material anymore. We have eyes on the money. So f6 is our threat. e6 is a threat to some extent. f6 followed by e6. Let's continue pushing. Rook takes d1. Okay, let's go e6. Rook takes d1. I think I have knight takes d1. Which is funny. A funny looking move. I think it works amazingly. Because then I have e7 and queen c6. This runs into e7. Takes on f7 also. But then king h8 and it was unclear. It takes. And this runs into queen a8. It got scary there for a second. But we succeeded. Goodness gracious. I think it was interesting. We're going to analyze that game because I definitely didn't play the opening incredibly well. In fact, I played it pretty poorly. Thanks for the game. KRFLVAS. This is also the reason why we're not getting anywhere near the number one. Can't play chess? Hello. Do you recommend any specific books of the best openings for non-rated chess players to learn and memorize? I think you can, as long as you're playing something like 1e4 or you're not playing something extremely positional or something that doesn't occupy the center, as long as you're playing some opening like that, so the Scotch opening, the Italian opening, the Rui Lopez, the English opening, occupying the center with c4, knight c3, knight f3, I think you can play about anything. I can't think of any book off the top of my head, though. So I'm sorry to disappoint. Can't think of any book. I can think of positional books. I can think of some... I have some Spanish speaking or Spanish books in Spanish that analyzes the games of the past. Probably that's the best way of learning openings when you're a beginner, when you're not rated. Just looking at the games of the past. So starting with Paul Morphy, the first chess genius, then starting with the classical world champion. So Steinitz, Wilhelm Steinitz, Austrian American, I think. He was the first world champion. Then Emanuel Lasker, Capablanca, and so on. So we have bishop e3, queen f6, c3, knight g7, bishop c4. This is still theory. Let's see where we mess up. Actually, we played everything right. Wow, we were following the main line. So this is all theory. But here I messed up. Bishop d3 is not the move. Although it's still equal. But I should have gone e5 according to the database. Queen g6 or queen f5. Queen f5, bishop d3 again with a tempo. That makes tons of sense. Queen g6, bishop d3 still, but now there's bishop f5. That's the reason why queen g6 is better than queen f5. I take, go knight d2, and this is much better. But it still feels like black equalized. I don't know. Queen e2. Whoa. Yeah, I have to be careful here. That's why rook f2 is the main line. Rook f2 is the only way for white to continue putting pressure, I guess. What's the threat? Queen b1? Okay, queen e2 now. Sorry. But this is the type of moves I'm looking for when I'm, when it comes to the opening. Well, interesting, very interesting. Let's go back to the Rabbit Arena so we're not losing the momentum here. We have 30 minutes left and we can get some quick wins. We're still ages away. No problem. No problem at all. We're struggling here to get a game. Well, good timing. Whoa, we're both berserking. Let's once again play the Sicilian. I get the feeling that my opponent's gonna play d4 now. Or are we gonna get another Rossolimo? Okay, we're gonna get... We still don't know. White can still go d4 here. But if white goes bishop c4, then it's official. We are getting an anti-Sicilian. Wow. So we're going to get an anti-Sicilian that way. Fair enough. We're going to play bishop g7. This is the reason why we played g6 in the first place. I'm going to put our pawn on e6, knight g7. This is where my pieces belong. Knight g7, supporting c6. We're essentially playing a blitz game here. It's 5 minutes each, so I'm going to call some short side here. Here I have a6, I have knight d4, I have d5. Those are my candidate moves. Technically f5 is a candidate move as well, but it's a little bit... It looks very weird. I'm going to go a6, because if bishop c4 I get d5 with a tempo. And if bishop f1, I can consider b5. Sometimes white wants to exchange these bishops by playing knight a4. So that's my idea with b5. But at the same time, I'm a little bit scared of white getting d5 in. So I have a dilemma. I'm gonna occupy the center with d5. b5 is still in the air if I want, I guess. So I'm gonna take. Now against knight a4. I was considering to play d4. I didn't realize this was hanging. So that's already going bad. But knight a4, I don't know. Bishop takes b2 is fine. Okay, queen e2. There's bishop d4. There's bishop f5. Bishop g4 kind of wants to play knight d4 with a tempo. I like bishop d4. What is white going to play there? Queen e3, d4. This just runs into knight d4. Ah, but queen takes e7. I see. Knight d4 takes. I take. Okay, let's go bishop f5. Let's retreat. Should we go bishop e6? And then bishop f5. Oh, my camera died. Give me a second. I'm gonna change the battery. White goes d3. Okay. Let's go b5. There we go. There we go. Slightly tilted. Well, that should work. Ay. Okay, we have to make a move. I'm gonna play b5 here. I want to not allow knight a4. Occupying space in the queen side. One of the other ideas is going bishop e6 against knight h4. Okay, I'm gonna play queen d7, connecting rooks. If g4, bishop e6. I mean, I can consider bishop takes g4, first of all. Okay, a4. Kind of forcing my hand here. I don't want to go d4 nor b4. What about knight d4? This could potentially win a pawn. Oh, wait a second. e7 is hanging. What am I doing? I could go b4 and then d4, actually. It's getting intense. Because knight d1 is kind of the only move I see. So then I'm gonna go d4. And then prevent this. c3 is not happening either. It's getting intense. I'm looking for knight d5 as well. Okay, bishop c1 makes sense. What about knight d5? Finally getting this knight out of the eyes of that queen and that rook. Hello, Jay. How are you? Hope you've been having a good day. We've had a little bit of a tough tournament so far. A little bit of a tough tournament. Okay, f6 is an idea. Rook f8 is an idea. f6 kind of wants bishop d2 to happen, actually. f6, bishop h4 is the only move. Or bishop c1, but both of them are pretty sad. Let's go f6. I like f6. Because then after bishop h4, I can go bishop h6. How is that queen? How's that queen getting out of here? Knight d2, rook f8, queen f3, take it. Okay, this is getting intense. So we can take, and play rook f8. Let's play rook f8 directly, I think this wins. I don't think there's enough compensation for the queen. And f4 is also super weak now that I think about it. Knight f4 is an idea. I could have played knight f4 right away, instead of rook f8. Could have played knight f4, and if queen d2, knight takes h3 potentially was a better version. But okay. Okay, this shouldn't work. D takes. Knight f4. It looks pretty bad. Let's take. After takes, there's knight f4. Not obvious, actually. Whoa, queen d1 directly? This is just... I don't know. Let's take. Let's take. Let's play knight f4. Knight d4 is an idea as well. If rook g1, rook e2. If this... What was my idea here? Just takes, I think. Just takes and bishop f4. Now we're taking g3. Takes, queen e1, rook takes e1. Yeah, I think we're winning here. We played a little bit quicker this game. It was intense. But now this is just taking everything. With check. We're just going to activate the last piece. Queen d5 is not possible because of queen takes d5. What is the threat here? Bishop e3? Knight f3. Well, now, because this is kind of boxing, I think this is a nice move. Queen h4. Not allowing white to escape, and then I have knight d4. It was actually quite, like, I don't know what the name of this motive is in chess. You give a check, and then you go back. Thanks for the game. I'm playing the hourly rapid, yeah. I think I'm going to probably... at some point I'm going to... Because many people have asked me already, and I think it would be fair and it would be fun. We have to at some point organize a inner rapid tournament, as we used to do at some point. But then I stopped doing it because we stopped being so many. So I think at some point we're going to play rapid, or blitz arenas by ourselves, like as a together. So we're playing with the white pieces. We're gonna go 1e4 as we've been doing. I'm gonna try to finish this apple. I've been trying to finish the whole time. We're gonna go for the 4 knights variation with knight c3. There are many interesting ways of playing here as black, by the way. So you can take, and you can sacrifice on e4. But black goes for the more conservative way. And this actually reminds me of... you can occupy space here. You can kind of transpose into a King's Indian defense structure. But maybe bishop b5 was better instead of doing this right away. Anyway, I'm gonna go h3 here. The idea is to prevent bishop g4. Or knight g4, actually. I'm preparing bishop e3. The setup here to... Ah, okay, yeah. This is why I would wish to have opponent c4. Yeah, with opponent c4 this would be fine. But now I guess I have to approach the position differently. So I can take. I can play bishop g5, but bishop g5 seems wrong. What happens if we go g4? That doesn't look right. Let's go a4. Because sometimes black wants to go b5, so I want to play bishop c4 without b5 being a problem. And if c takes d, we still have pawn takes. But then bishop f5 or knight f5. We got a very interesting position out of the opening. Not exactly what I wanted, but at least it's a game, as they say. Maybe I can provoke my opponent. I'm just gonna play bishop c4. I'm still wondering if g4 is a good move, but I don't know. It's a very double-edged move. Very weird position. I think black is probably fine. They have to sort out their underdeveloped pieces problem. I'm also underdeveloped though. It's just maybe a little bit easier for white to know where to put the pieces. I have 3 logical squares for the bishop. Okay, I'm gonna play bishop b5, check, and I'm gonna castle. At some point, I wish to go for 92, 94. So a6. I could not take on the, like, I can prevent this. Not sure how useful this is, but bishop d3 potentially. I'm gonna go for bishop c4. Because if black does end up going for f5, and this knight disappears, there's some ideas of knight 65 and then d6. Hello, Krishna. It's been a while. We're playing a rapid arena. So bishop b3 seems reasonable. Is black going to castle queenside? That would be insane. Castle's queenside, I go knight g5, targeting f7, bishop e8, and then I go e4. That would be interesting. Maybe that's why I should have gone bishop a2. So it's easier for me to go b4 at some point. Not now, like not in that position because c3 is hanging. But yeah. So bishop e7. Yeah. So I'm gonna play rook e1. Feels like a useful move. And at some point maybe bishop g5 and I give up the bishop. Okay, my opponent says no to that. I'm gonna go knight d2, knight e4. Maybe I should do something about this guy. I wish I had c4 in. That's the problem. So knight e4 is a candidate move. Knight b1 is a candidate move. Knight e2 is a candidate move. Knight e2, sorry, knight g3. What is that knight doing even if it gets there? Not sure, not sure. Knight e2. Okay, I'm gonna go bishop e3 then. And if my opponent's gonna castle short side, I'm gonna go queen d2 and just potentially create threats like that. First, I'm gonna maneuver my knights. Specifically the knight on c3. The knight on c3 I really don't like. Or it's not too much that I don't like the knight on c3. I just really want c4, bishop c2. When do you stream these days? I'm streaming on Wednesdays, on the weekends, and then on top of that Wednesdays, like today. But this weekend, actually, I should have said this. This weekend I'm playing in 4NCL, which is a international tournament that happens in England, in the UK. So I won't be streaming on this weekend. I'll be making videos about how I did. But yeah, so f5 is coming, that's clear. Let's go queen h5. Other than that, yeah. Wednesday at the time I started this stream, that looks very sad for me. Okay. Can I go g3? No, f5, it looks very annoying. Can I go queen g3? I have to play accurately here. I feel like I'm slowly drifting into a worse position. Bishop takes h6. Doesn't work. But I tried. I can go knight e4, and then after f5, something like queen h5. But that doesn't seem to work either. So, final verdict is, or probably worse. Queen g3, bishop h4. Okay, let's go knight c4 then. Get our bishop out of that way. And we're threatening, as I said before, if black goes f5, ideas with knight takes e5 become alive. Let's go bishop b6. Clearly black has counterplay in the king side. I'm looking for counterplay. I wish in the queen side, but it would be easier if our pawn was on c5. So I guess I'm looking for counterplay in the center. Not very easy though. Knight takes e5 doesn't seem to work. Sorry. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5. D takes e5. D6 check is my idea. King h8, and I take here. I think I don't have anything else other than that. I'm slowly getting into a worse position. Let's go for it. This is a no-brainer. I think that's what a GM would think. So f4, e4, knight g5 is arriving. I can't afford to allow all of that. Not in my watch. I have to go and message you in Leech's chat. Good luck. Thank you, Siderite. Oh, you did? Did you? Oh, I'll check it out. Thank you. So I'm gonna go d6. This is the whole point. If not, I would be just blundering a rook. So I'm down a whole rook. But I'm getting some tempies. So king h8 is kind of the only move. D takes e7, rook e. Oh wow, this can't be wrong. This has to be wrong. Queen h5, bishop f7. There's no way this works. Bishop f7, king takes f7, queen d5. Bishop f7, queen h5, queen h5. Wow. This is weird. There's no way it works. Takes queen h5, queen d5 directly. D takes e7. Okay, let's go d takes e7 for now. e4, knight takes e4. Queen e8, knight d5 maybe. Queen there, rook d1. I don't know, this seems so... breaking 1,000 rules. So queen d6, rook d1, queen takes b6, rook takes d7, I'm not worried about. Bishop d8 looks good. I'm gonna go for this. Keeping an eye on e7. With bishop e6, I have rook d1. I'm taking on b7 actually, I didn't even notice that. What am I saying? Bishop e6 blunders into e8. I think I'm winning now. Queen h5 is coming. Like, I'm worried, even if, you know, even if I'm not playing anything, like, I'm no longer down in material, I can play this. I can make neutral moves, neutral good moves. So queen d6. I don't know, maybe I can go rook d1, f takes e4. There's a very beautiful line there, actually. Rook d1, f takes e4, I sacrifice the queen. E takes f3. I promote. And I'm taking on f7. Everything is check. I think I'm gonna go for that. The reason why I go rook d1 is also because it also threatens knight d6. I could go knight d6 now, though. I'm gonna go rook d1. I can't resist this. Can't resist the temptation. And if it's truly needed, I can also just take, but okay. F takes e4, rook takes d7 is the true reason why I'm going for this. I'm sacrificing the queen, I go e8, I create my, I get my queen back. Sorry. And yeah, things are good, I think. Sacrifice the queen. E takes f3, e8, knight f8, we're taking on f7 with check, we're winning the queen. So from losing the queen, we're winning our opponent's queen in that variation. And of course, it's very difficult for black to play, especially with this very annoying pin. So we're doing well. Ooh, knight f6. We can sacrifice the queen again. We can promote and get two queens. That one's actually pretty attractive. But the problem with that is that after knight takes e8, bishop takes f7, king h8, all of a sudden bishop takes e6, e takes f3. We are winning, but are we winning as much as we could? That's the question. So I'm gonna sacrifice the queen, queen takes f6. Once again, it looks scary. It looks like I am actually losing the queen, but it's not true. I am getting a new one right away. So queen takes f6, e8, king h7, bishop takes f7, rook takes d8, and it's game over. And here, this is illegal, so it's impossible for this to even happen. We have mate in 2, 6, and queen g8. Or bishop f6. Bishop f6 is a better way of mating. A little bit more, kind of, the final position really encourages people to play with all their pieces. Thanks for the game. So we're approaching, but we only have 6 minutes left. Once again, we'll be left in the, you know, far away from the first page. And by a massive difference. I mean, we needed 22 and we're not even close. But it's fine. We're getting good games. We have to do a couple of things to get to the first page next stream. Maybe someone can remind me if they're still somewhere out there. So we have to start at the very beginning of the arena. We have to play quicker a little bit. Try not to lose so much quality, but we do have to speed up. And then once we're at the very top, I guess we could afford to maybe commentate games a little bit more. But okay, we're playing against the 2200. We're gonna Berserk back, because maybe we can get a quick game here. We're gonna play another Sicilian. They're gonna go for an open Sicilian. I'm gonna go G6. This is the dragon Sicilian. I'm gonna go bishop G7. Ooh, they go for this line. Interesting. I haven't met this line in a long time, if not like ever. So how do we develop here? E6, D5. A6, B5. Queen C7, Queen B6, D6. D6 looks natural. Okay. What do we think of bishop G4? Provoking H3. Not sure. I think I like A6, B5 more. Bishop E3 runs into knight G4, which that's why that's why I didn't want to go bishop G4, because I think H3 is genuinely a useful move. It may be even played now. Okay, they don't prepare it, so I'm gonna exploit it by playing knight G4, bothering that bishop. After bishop D2, which I consider, or bishop F4. What do we do here? B5, B5, E5. Ah, E5. So knight takes E5, bishop takes E5. And that doesn't seem to work. So do we have to play bishop D7 first? Seems like that. Seems like that's the case. Let's play bishop D7. No biggie, as they say. H3, we go knight G, E5. And my whole idea is to go knight C4, bother my opponent with that move. So I'm gonna go knight G5. There's a funny threat here. Okay, now knight C4. If queen D2, bishop H3 is in the air. But bishop E3 runs into other troubles. Now I'm gonna go B5. Or rook C8 first. I'm gonna go here first. B3, there's this additional move of B4, which maybe is what I want to do. We will get that line. Which is the reason why I didn't want to go rook C8 first. Rook C8, I don't get that option. So now we take. And even if we're losing C3, so for example, queen D3, well, okay, queen D3 is a bad example because it runs into potentially knight E5, queen takes C3, and knight F3. But even if we're losing C3, it seems like we're getting back C4, and in the resulting position, our structure is slightly better. So this runs into knight A5, I thought. And rook takes C3, bishop takes C3. Oh, give me a second, someone's knocking on the door. Good timing, I guess. Opponent running an advanced stream snack. That would be super scary. No, it was something super weird. I'm scared actually. That was super like that's insane. Oh yeah, okay. Rook takes e3, sacrificing the exchange. That's expected. So I can approach this and act like nothing happened and just play knight takes c4. Or I can play like an engine, which I'm assuming like the engine would take it, and act like, you know, king safety is nothing to worry about. I'm gonna go for knight takes c4. It seems easier to play, especially because I have a minute. Fortunately, we're not gonna get the chance. Finishing up. Rook takes it is a gangster, yeah. Exactly. So bishop a4, attacking the rook now. This one I don't mind giving up, because my dark squared bishop is, you know, more valuable than my light squared bishop. Okay, let's play. Ooh. That one I underestimated. Queen a5. We have to really speed up. Yeah, enormous time gap. This one, it was out of my control. But it's fine. We'll do what we can. I don't promise anything. But we'll do as much as we can. Okay. Passive move. Let's play a passive move. It's fine. Threat is bishop c6, I guess. What is a threat here? Okay, bishop c6. Why is this a threat? Good question. I mean, knight b6 is also... I don't know. What am I doing? Bishop c6? Taking here? Yeah, it is advanced stream sniping. Knock on someone's door and gain like 2 minutes. It's my fault for berserking technically, but even with berserking, you know, losing that amount of time. Queen b6, we're getting the rook. Yes. If queen d3, we have bishop b5. Extra accurate. I mean, we could have taken and played bishop b5, so maybe I'm complicating my life here. No, that's just a rook. Okay, so this is just going to be a show. Oh, what am I doing? Immediately I go wrong. Okay, bishop e3 was in the air. Let's go here. Queen c5. Target that guy. h6 if bishop g5, or bishop d4 actually. Bishop d4 is stronger. It was prevented. Let's go rook c3. Okay, let's come here. Potentially rook c1 at some point. Maybe not now. Maybe not now. Actually, not now. It's actually just losing. Rook d3 is winning. And this is what we were talking about. Bishop takes d4. This is not for the faint-hearted. Be ready. Bishop e2. Okay, this is within. As soon as rook f3 happens, queen e4. Rook d3. Takes. e4. Takes. If king f4, queen f6 is mate at the end. Yeah, this is... There's queen f2, queen d2. Whoa. Thanks for the game. I think it was a decent game until the knock on the door. So for that I do apologize. After bishop e3, this does allow knight g4. That's why most people on the main line is with h3. if... Can you see the... it's because there are no more games. Yeah, so rook b8 was the main line here. a6 is the... Not the second, not the third, not the fourth, but the fifth most played game move in this position. But funnily enough, look at this. Take a look at this. 40%, so it's the one that scores best out of the first three. In fact, out of all the moves that we can see here. And if you take a look at the engine, which clearly I failed just now. There we go. If you take a look at the engine, it's the second the second best. So I'm throwing myself flowers here. Sorry about that. But a6 turns out to be a good move. Bishop e3 is not. Is a little bit premature, I should say. According to the engine, h3 was better. Bishop d7, not the best. Knight g5, knight c4 directly. Okay, bishop d7, h3. That's why, okay, b3. But bishop e3 happened, knight c4 comes with a tempo, of course, this is not ideal, and then we get b5 and b4. Exactly, so this actually proved to be important. We took on c3, rook b1, rook c8, rook b3, knight a5, and moment of truth, as we knew it, the engine just... This is amazing. The engine knew that... yeah, bishop takes e3, you know, yeah, let's just get rid of our dark square bishop and win. -2, but if I can go for -1.6, which is still within a decisive advantage, I'll choose that one. I'll choose that one over leaving my king unsafe. And here, this is where it got a little bit chaotic. But yeah, rook a7, of course, not ideal. Rook b3, bishop a4, rook b7. I guess eventually I would have to go e6, which I don't fully understand. Like, for example, if white plays king h1, now there's bishop c6, and what's the difference? Okay, now I'm taking on a2 for some reason, now that my pawn is on e6. Difficult to understand. Definitely I needed more time here. Rook b3, if I'm completely honest, I was intending to play queen takes a2 directly. But the engine thinks that we're allowing a little bit of counterplay here with knight b4. That's why e6 is better, I guess. So queen b6, and of course the rook is trapped. Played bishop b5 here, which we could have taken directly, and then after queen takes c4 we have bishop b5. And yeah, we got this position. We allowed bishop e3 though, which was very silly. This wasn't part of the plan. But it turns out that it's fine. I'm not sure if I would have found all of those moves, but thankfully things went my way. And all these panicky moves, and then once I get a queen, once I trade pieces, this becomes pretty quick, pretty easy. Well, easier, maybe not easy, but easier. Great time management at the end. I like how you specified at the end, because definitely not before that. Okay, well, I think it's 2:05. That was a good way of finishing the stream. There's some last things I wanted to say just before we go. So last thing is, for those of you who do want to play and did ask me and have been very patient, not only because it's already pretty tough to deal with me and tolerate my voice, but also because they've been asking and, you know, wondering if we could play a game. So what I'm gonna offer is we could do simuls, we could do arena tournaments, I'm not sure, but what I do know is that the first step is probably to create a team and send messages within that team. So yeah, I think that's what we should do. Join the team. Maybe then I can notify you somehow, message all members, there we go. I can notify you how to join an arena or something like that. And yeah, other than that, I have one more announcement, which is I won't be playing, I'll repeat, I said it I think once or twice, but of course, for those of you who were not around, I will, yeah, this is why I don't do simuls anymore, because, you know, even we got someone that cheated. Either way, it's a problem that can't go away. It's online chess for you. People are not honest. But yeah, I won't be streaming this weekend because I'll be playing in foreign CL, We're playing against a super strong team in the first division. You know, you get stars in like even I think what was the last guy I saw? Alexei Shidov, Gawain Jones, Michael Adams, all of these super strong players, super strong GMs, always play or very regularly play in 4NCL. So I'll be playing that super strong tournament. I won't be around, but I will definitely talk about the games at some point in the next stream, which would be next Wednesday. In short words, I'll see you guys on the next Wednesday, and I will be uploading videos in the meantime, as I usually do. I have a question. How do I like C threats and I play like a master because I'm 2500, but I can't beat I am yet? So it's always tough. So I would for me to answer that question is I would have to look at your games and analyze them, right? Of course, and take a look at your openings. And because if you're at 2500, the opening is already a big part of your chess. You're 2500 online, which I'm assuming is equivalent to like 1900 or 2000 FIDE. In which case, as I said, this is already important. Openings are important, if not 2100, by the way, even higher FIDE. Yeah, I don't know. I think you just continue doing tactics. I think you have to. It's not only enough with puzzles. Puzzles is one thing. But the next step for your tactics or your calculation to improve is actually reading books that are meant to guide your thoughts and guide your organization the way you actually think towards the quickest and the best way of finding the answer. That's my opinion. How to improve time management? Wow, I have no idea. I wish I knew. Well, okay, jokes aside, I think in the last classical tournament, I'm not a good example online, by the way. I take a look at any video and any stream, I manage my time very poorly, and that's part of because I'm trying to explain things. So in my case is very special. In classical tournaments, though, I think I improved in that sense, especially in the last tournament. So my advice would be very well prepared in the opening. I think if you are met with something that you don't know in the opening, you start thinking, you lose time, and then that time is very precious because you want to use that time in the critical moments of the game where both you and your opponent are trying to figure out this super long sequence where there are many forcing moves. And yeah, that's what I think. I think in the last tournament I was a little bit better prepared in the opening, and I could manage my time better. I was a little bit more ahead in time in some positions. But whenever I got surprised in the opening, which did happen in the last tournament, in I think the second last game, I had a deep thought. I spent all of that time in the opening, and it wasn't a surprise that I ended up losing, given that I didn't have enough time to evaluate the later complications. Despite getting a winning, got any books? Oh yes, I do. I'll show the one that I've showed 1,000 times, so the old viewers will know. Where is this? So I think this, well, I'll do it bigger. It's in Spanish, but of course, I think you can probably find something in English, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same book. Get anything from Dvoretsky. Anything from Dvoretsky. This guy who unfortunately passed away, semi recently, I think 5 or 6 years ago, or even more actually. Either way, he's the way to go when it comes to coaching. If you don't have an actual coach, even if you have an actual coach, I think Dvoretsky is the way to go in many ways. Also the endgame, the famous endgame manual. Despite getting a winning position, I lose on time. Yeah, that. But is that online where there's no increment? Don't worry about online. If you want to improve online, if that's your objective, that's a different story. I'm not even the right person to ask in that sense. I prioritize as many others, and I think you should also prioritize. Especially if you want to be a professional tournament player. you should prioritize classical chess, not speed chess. But okay, if your priorities are different, that's absolutely fine. Not everyone has to be a professional tournament player. So if that's your goal, to play no increment chess, take a look at how Hikaru managed his time. How, well, of course, as we all know, how Naroditsky used to manage his time. He was a monster in Blitz. Those guys, I think you can really learn from that. And what I know from those games is that, just to end the stream because I keep saying things, is that they just know everything in the opening. They grandmasters, they know everything. They know this idea. They know that this has been popularized and that, oh, I could use this weapon. They have a big inventory of repertoires and opening weapons, pet lines, whatever you want to call it. And they know when to use them. They know when their opponent is maybe lacking in positional understanding, so they play a positional line. If their opponent is a little bit not as talented as them in tactics, then they play something very crazy. Team Arena, where we the viewers can play you, sir. Exactly, that's what I wanted to do, Anand. That's what I wanted to do. That's part of the... I'll think about it, because I don't want everyone to get ruined by cheaters, so that's why I'm not doing it openly. But if everyone is on the chat, then somehow we can keep it a little bit closer, or closed. Yeah, like private. Yeah, something like that. I play Jobaba London and Rui Lopez. For black, I play King's Indian and Sicilian. I don't know what to add. Okay. That's interesting that you play the Jobaba and the Rui Lopez. I would stick to one of them. And I'm biased because I really like the Rui Lopez. I really like the Rui Lopez. I think you should stick to that one. I'm surprised that you play two things. My coach used to say, once again, I've said it 1,000 times, but I used to have an IM coach. He used to say, David, stick to one line. Don't act like you understand everything out of those two. It's better to make your strength stronger than trying to, grab more than you can handle. That's my general advice with playing many different openings. I will start playing classical, and I aim to be a GM and take it as professional. Maybe aim for... I mean, there's nothing wrong with aiming for GM, but maybe try something a little bit, little by little. Aim for a titled... Well, I'm not sure. Maybe you're already titled. In which case, then aiming for GM sounds pretty good. Just not aim for anything. Just be as good as you can get, and then you'll never get disappointed when you don't achieve GM because you actually just gave your best. So that's getting philosophical. Okay, well, if anyone else has a question, now's your time. I'm gonna drink water, hydrate myself in this wintry weather. And I think I will say goodbye. Why am I here, by the way? How did I land in puzzles? So thanks, everyone. Hope you have a good day. I will see you in 1 week. Wednesday, I'll be solving puzzles and I will be playing an arena tournament. Hopefully we can get in the first page of that. And thanks for tolerating me.